The big thing for me, being a person who travels as a baller a lot as well, is I don't want someone, coming from Victoria or South Australia or WA or New Zealand or around the world flying in so they can play 4 points or 4 matches.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Down Under Paintball. This week we're up to episode 007, so I thought that this music was more than apt for this episode. This week I'm sitting down and chatting with a great mentor of mine, Michael Whybrew, owner of Action Paintball games in Rouse Hill, Sydney. Also runs the Super 7 series that has the great webcast that I get the opportunity to work on as well. We cover topics such as how Mike got into paintball and the reasons behind why he pushes so hard to make the Super 7s the great event it is. Just a little bit of a heads up, I had a little technical issue halfway through the episode, so it dropped out, but bear with us. So thanks everyone again for tuning in. This is Scott and you're listening to Down Under Paintball. Welcome everyone to another episode of Down Under Paintball, joined today with the godfather of paintball himself, Michael Whybrew.
Thank you very much. Hey Scotty, how you going?
Yeah, I'm good. It's trying times at the moment with all this virus stuff going on, but we're getting through it.
It certainly is, isn't it? It's we're not the only industry that's really been kicked in the guts by it, I suppose. It's everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can.
It's hard as you want. In stressful times, nothing more fun than to go and grab your paintball marker and go run around and shoot around with your mates and relieve some stress. But we can't do it.
Well, that's it. At least tonight, maybe we can bring up some old memories and help take our mind off all the stuff that's going on in the world.
I suppose, yeah, it's hard. I think about it sometimes now. Like we start talking about old memories. Some of my memories predate the age of the average player. That's sad.
Yeah.
I played paintball first time like 1987.
There you go.
Yeah, 1987. Yep. So before you were born. Yes.
Well, why don't you
thank you for that, Scott. About that? Well, actually, interesting. I suppose I was a young fella back then, and my flatmate one day came to me after work. We're sort of sitting around having a cold beer, and he's going, "Oh, Michael, we got to try this war game thing. You want to give it a go?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Never even heard of it." And he sort of gave me a brief rundown, and these air rifles that shoot a paintball, and they hit you and you're out. You wear these goggles, and I thought, "Wow, this sounds awesome! This sounds really cool." And so back then it was I won't say it was illegal because that would be wrong, because it was sort of like it was an unknown, pretty much from what I can understand. The police didn't care about it as long as no one complained. So basically we had to book in like weeks and weeks. We had to meet this guy up the Central Coast, and it was almost like a drug deal. We had to meet the guy at McDonald's at Coffs Harbour there. Not Coffs Harbour, at Gosford, just off the freeway. So we pull up, and there was 3 of us in the car, and this guy's in this Hilux across the car park. He comes out, he's got camo pants. So we get out, "Oh, hey, like, you guys here for the skirmish, looking over his shoulder." And, we sure are. And we went up. I think there would have been about 6 or 7 of us. They had the old bolt action paintball guns, like the KP1 rifles. And for people who don't know about those, they're a rifle that has a little 12-gram cartridge inside, like your soda bowl ones, and it's hardwired, and you have to refill it, continue to regas with CO2. And the gun has 2 barrels, and it's like a tube just below, it looks like a double barrel, but it's actually the tube on the side holds 13 paintballs. And we're using a bolt action cocking mechanism. Literally, you shoot a shot, you bring the bolt up, you lift the gun upwards, you sort of give it a bit of a twist. Sometimes you had to kind of push the next ball in because the tube that held the paintballs was slightly lower than the barrel. And you take about 3 or 4 seconds to reload a shot. you'd get about 20 paintballs out of a single fill, and then you'd have to go all the way back up to HQ and regas your gun. And I remember playing like that a few times for the first 2 years or something like that, because I remember I played the first time and then the guy disappeared, and it wasn't until he sold again to some guy in Malaysia and then we found out about it again. That I think if you shot 50 paintballs back then, you were like some mad guy. Like, hey, what? You shot 50 shots? Are you insane? And I remember too coming back playing with bolt actions. All your stomach was like all cramping at the end of the day and the next day, because you spent most of your time on the stomach crawling and dragging your legs. You didn't stand up or anything like that because of the nature of the game. It was all sniper.
Yeah, it's a bit slower than it is these days.
Oh, yeah, we'll put it this way. Yeah, if you were being a sniper sitting there and two guys come walking down the track, you couldn't shoot them, because if you shot one, and by the time you went, like, so you got tonk and then you like pick the gun up and you're trying to cock and get that little ball across into the other chamber, the other guy just run up and go tonk and shoot you. So, yeah. A lot of people go, oh, they weren't really accurate. They weren't really cool. They were rubbish guns, but I had a mad time. Absolutely fell in love with it. And, we just wearing these UVX goggles, just like welding goggles, I suppose. That's what you wore. And I remember the first time we played, the operator, because there were numbers of loads, I think there was like 7 or something. So he jumped in to make the teams even. And I remember he got shot point blank in the face, and it busted all his lip. And we're like, oh, wow, well, because back then we didn't have cronies or anything, right? What he did, was it Murray was his name, I think? He'd throw a Coke can down, and as long as he didn't punch a hole in the Coke can, it's sweet.
Maybe we should bring that back.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, punch a hole in the Coke can was the real, because they just had a little Allen kit at the back to adjust the velocity. How accurate, I don't know about that with the velocity adjustment. But, yeah, that was the trick. You had the Coke can, you shoot. If it didn't punch a hole in it, she's good to go. So he shut down, and about 12 or 18 months later, then one of my mates is going, oh, this guy sold his guy at Wallachia. You want to go and play paintball again? It's like, hell yeah. And just started playing it there. It got to the point where I was almost going out almost every Sunday to play. I was a full addict. And this is the old bolt action guns. And then one day I invited one of my friends from work to come. I was in the shoe industry at the time. And he goes, oh, you mind if I bring a couple of friends as well? I said, yeah, sure, man, more the merrier. So it was like for 2 weeks' time. And somehow in 2 weeks, these guys had managed to go shopping. And I remember we pulled up, this is back just wearing whatever clothes and a pair of UVX goggles. These guys turn up in the Subaru and they hop out and they're wearing tiger stripe BDU shirt and pants. Yeah. They got the wristbands that hold the 10-round tubes. They even bought their own paintball markers. And they were these Tipman SL68 Mark Is, the very first pump-action Tipman gun to hit the market. And this is like around the early, mid-1990s, right? And these 4 guys, it's all a matter of perspective, right? These were pump-action, slow pump-action guns with a 7-ounce CO2 tank, so they could shoot 300 to 400 shots before they needed to regas. And they had a 40-round magazine on the top with a little flip lid, and you could refill it 10 balls at a time with the tubes that are on your wrist. Anyone seen an old paintball magazine would see this sort of stuff. Well, during the day, there was about 35, 40 guys there on the day. 4 guys with SL68 Mark Is, and everyone else with bolt-action rifles. And by half through the day, everyone was referring to the SL68s as the machine gunners. 2 guys on each team lay waste, raped us hard all day. It was amazing. And of course, talking to them, they went, oh, yeah, we bought our guns up this place up in Queensland. And as soon as we found about that, a whole bunch was like, yep, on the Monday, rang the gentleman up in Queensland, Timmy, we ordered 10 paintball markers the first time. And so the arms race began. And that was the very beginning of the core that was going to become the original Sydney Swat. And that's how simple it started. Just two of the boys that had all their own gear, Steve and Rob Hughes, the 2 brothers. They were 2 of the original guys on the team as well. They came and joined the team, started playing all the time because they brought this gear, obviously. And this all predates the internet too. So I was just amazed. These guys had found where to get guns from, and they imported all their camo gear from the States and everything.
Well, what did a gun set you back around those days? For one of those
I think we paid a Tipman. I remember because we ended up buying 10 Tippmann 98s, SL68s. And the first weekend, two of the guys couldn't make it. They were away. And so we've turned up, we're playing with our guns. Oh, these are unreal. It's great. We've got our own pump actions, got the firepower now. And then the following weekend, because we're right into it now, the following weekend, the two guys come back and they open up, they pull out their gear, and what the hell have you got? Well, two of them had gone up to Queensland for holidays, gone straight and seen Paintball Australia and gone, and saw that they had all these other paintball guns there. So they traded their brand new Tippmann SL68s back in and bought, I think one bought a Bushmaster, another one bought a Ranger. Pump actions still.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the hell? What the goat? So on Monday, ringing up Paintball Australia, Tim, said, wait, you didn't tell me. Well, you didn't ask. Really? And so, boom, started buying. And, just from there it sort of started, And then back then it was so early. There was literally look, all the gear back then, with the exception of the Tippmann, because the early 68s, Tippmann's SL68s were a really reliable gun made for rental. Most of the stuff back then was rubbish, right? So you're always buying a new gun. There's a new gun coming every second week. Hoppers went from 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 round to 90 round, 100 round, 120, 140, and then 200 round. And I felt like I was buying a new hopper every second week just because bigger. So it was slightly in a lot. Just a tube, canister basically.
Yeah.
And then I think the Indian Springs are the one that brought out the first. And they had the little channel in the back of them, the old Indian Spring XL 200s. Yeah. So they had a little bit of a channel. So in the semi-autos, it just started coming out now. The 68 Tippmann 68 specials, the Mighty PMI3, both rubbish guns. But in the time, hey, semi-auto, man, wow. And it's it's just like the arms race from just being new stuff all the time. New companies coming, new companies going. Lots of new markers coming out in the magazines. A lot of them didn't eventuate eventually, with big promises of super performance that just didn't exist. It really wasn't until the 2000s that, I think that paintball sort of evolved with the gear overall.
How was it like getting your hands on the guns back then? Was it something that was easy to do, or was it still a grey area for a while as well?
Originally, while it was a grey area, it wasn't difficult. You could just go to Queensland and buy one, as long as you didn't do anything stupid with the damn thing. There's no drama. And then once we got to, I think about 93, when we finally got it legalised, then we were just super strict on the rules. This is what it was. The guns had to stay at the field, had to be stored in an armory, all that sort of stuff. We had a fair bit of flexibility, so we could take guns from one field license and go and take it to another venue and play. So, people could have their guns, their personal paintball markers on our license, and then say there was an event at Heartbreak Ridge or Lithgow or whatever, we could take all the guns quite legally to there. It wasn't until, I think, late 2000s that someone in the government and the registry decided, oh no, the guns can't be transferred or used anywhere other than the field that they're approved for. That's it, end of story. Well, they just come out of the woodwork for no reason. But by then we had private ownership. We got that legalised, so it didn't really matter. People could get their licence now and take paintball.
The fingers you have used to dial are too fat. To obtain a special dialing wand, please mash the keypad with your palm now.
We're talking about the legality.
So we've had a lot of law changes come, and we've had wins and losses. I mean, we had it legalised for about 3-4 years, and then we lost semi-autos for importation. I mean, that kind of sucked after the Port Arthur massacre. I mean, you could still, not that I'm against handguns or anything, but you could still bring in handguns, but you couldn't bring in a semi-automatic paintball gun because some muppet, there's no other word for it, some muppet in the AG department in the late 90s decided, we're going to ban this, and this from importation because of the terrible tragedy that was Port Arthur, and we'll just throw paintball guns in there as well, which really sucked because, that's when the semi-autos really started to come into, really nice cockers and mags, and that were really coming to fruition then, 96, 97. 98, and then in the early 2000s, you had the electronic guns like the Shockers and the Angels and stuff like that. And I mean the original shoebox Shockers and the New Ventures Shocker. And that was so difficult and hard to get in Australia. So, a lot of teams in the late 90s were going back to using pump guns or cockers and mags, because they could be brought in legally as a pump gun and then converted legally here as a semi-auto. It wasn't for those two, we would have been really stuffed.
Yeah, so was that something that you had to buy like the conversion kit or something like that and ship it over?
Yeah,
separately?
you had to pay someone to make the cocker back into a sniper, or you could just buy a sniper pump gun, but the mag was more expensive because the pump kit from Automag was really expensive. And so, the only real proper way to do it legally was to have the gun made into a pump gun, a fully working pump gun, and then bring it over and then convert it over. And of course, that was only two models of paintball marker that you could do it with. There was a lot of other ones that are coming out, like the Day States and quite a few other blowback type paintball markers. Cheap, effective. I mean, and of course, Australian paintballers had to pay through the nose. I mean, if to have someone convert a gun to a pump gun over in the States, cost money, made it more expensive, and everything just was a lot more expensive for Australian paintballers and the people bringing the guns in to sell them. They're really challenging.
And was it the same countrywide, or like was it different state?
Yeah, all over Australia. It was a federal thing. It was, the ban was federal. So, you're really limited. I mean, I can't speak for everybody in the industry, but for us, it was really challenging. And I mean, look, even when we went over to World Cup, that would have been in France in 99, I think it was, off memory. Now I'm going to sound like Ringo. I can't remember what day of the week it is. But back in 99, we played the very first World Cup with the SUP air bunkers. And, we've gone over there and we're all running auto cockers. Because that's the only we'd use, and then we could convert back to pump to bring them back into Australia. Otherwise you'd take your gun out of the country and you wouldn't be able to bring it back with you. That's where people started running around with Angels and Shockers and stuff like that. So here we are shooting mechanical guns against guys with electronic guns. Yeah, which is a bit of. World Cup, and we played pro in that event too. That was really cool. So.
And that was with SWAT, still in.
Yeah, with SWAT. Yeah, with SWAT.
So you said that SWAT started, from you guys showing up and just playing all the time.
We made a ring together team back in 1991. We're sort of just running games, and a couple of guys said, there was a tournament going to be made up. It was actually an exhibition tournament for the New South Wales government, right? So the guys running the old Paintball Association back then, who let's just say we're idiots. They had the opportunity to run a demonstration event to show the New South Wales government that paintball is a safe sport and it's good and we should legalise it. I didn't know that at the time, of course. I'm just some guy who's just playing paintball. I'm just a player. So we made together a ring together team, which as a whole, we hadn't actually played an event together ever or trained together. A couple of guys here, a couple of guys there. And I suppose a sign of the times back then, you'd only find in paintball. We went to this, it was a 10-man event. The police were everywhere there. All these guys with chevrons and stuff. There was no condoms, no safety areas. It was terrible. And the negative side was the police went away from that thing going, no way, this sport's it's too dangerous. It's silly. And that's put us back a couple of years to get the sport legalised. Brian Dixon, if you're hearing this, mate, you're an idiot. So anyway, that was the old president.
There you go.
But but it was a bit of a knuckle anyway. Like I said, we went to this event, we won every game from start to finish and came away with second place. And that was the beginning of I know. And I think we won the final game against the Screaming Phantoms in South Australia. We had like 6 guys left on the field. We've come in, congratulations, blah 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 blah. And I think I've told you about this before, where literally the arguments went on for about 2 hours until it was dark. I gave up. Our vice captain went and argued for a bit. They were saying they wrote the wrong score down. It's like, well, there's no real problem here. They know we won because we beat them. They're all in the dead box. We've got 6 guys alive. It wasn't even close. but the Screaming Phantoms were quite happy to take the first place and go away. And it was my first taste of paintball. Nearly made me quit it. I got to be honest, because I've played sport all my life, and I just thought, are you serious? Yeah, I mean, to me, I could not, in good faith, take a first place trophy having lost to the other team. That would I can't do that. But obviously, there's people in the sport that can.
Yeah, it wouldn't mean much. Taking that. Yeah. Well, at least we can agree on one thing, that a lot of things in paintball might have changed, but things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's been one of the big things I've tried really hard with my input into the sport, is to get the sport more sensible, getting rid of the referees that think they're gods, getting rid of referees that think they run the events, and just having it that, like it just should be like every other sport. The refs are there to enforce the rules. And look, to be fair too, with that, what I didn't know at the time, this history is the promoter, who's that Brian idiot, and one of the players on my team, who I didn't know very well, but he was a nice guy. He had a blood feud with each other over. One was married to the other one's sister and divorced her, or something like that. Anyway, so it wasn't, I think, really a case of burning SWAT because of us for a change. Well, for me, which should normally be the case, but it was a case of burning SWAT 100%, no way, because of the other gentleman, Dirk, which was sad. So the other 9 guys got punished for it as well. But yeah, that's one of the big things that you just can't have in the sport. People put a lot of effort and time into training, and especially nowadays, I mean, they're bloody athletes. Back then for us, the training session was don't drink so much the night before, a bit of commitment to the team. Whereas now these guys, going to the gym a couple of days a week and training and so forth. So yeah, big difference. But yeah, you want to have it if you put the effort in that, you're not having the win gifted to the other team. And that's one good thing about the race 2 format that I do like. You can get a bad call or an accidental bad call with a referee, and still generally the better team will win.
Yeah, and that's it. It's the consistency of the team. It's not, even if you make a mistake, you can come back from it. So yeah,
absolutely. I mean, look at the Super Sevens the last couple of years, mate. I mean, talking about you just can't pick it now. I know I'm going fast forward into the future now, but the end result is there, and I feel, for me personally, with the events I've been doing since 1992, or no, 91 actually, December 91 Rebel Tour, since 1991 to 2020, up until a couple of weeks ago, while we're still playing, that's been my one single driving force, is to have that consistency. So when people come to one of our events, there's an expectation. Whether I can't take responsibility for if it rains, pours, and places muddy, or it's stinking hot, that's outside of my control. But having people know what to expect when they come to an event that I run. And, the format now, I think, it makes my job easier.
Yeah, definitely. It's, you said that, how you guys argued for hours after that event. And I remember back in the 7-man days, the single point days, there was times like that where, someone would, even if the ref did make a bad call or they made the right call, but someone didn't feel that they did, the arguments would just go on and on and on. So yeah, the game.
Yeah, we've both played a lot of events where sometimes referees needed to be asked to leave the property. Look, mate, you got nothing to contribute to this sport. You should pack your shit and leave. And luckily, most of those, not all, but the vast majority of those sort of knuckle draggers are out of the sport. So
yeah, well,
that's a good thing.
And it's almost now like how football works. That just the game has to keep going. Like you can make a bad call, you can have an argument, but the next.
Refs make just 100%. Refs make mistakes, right, in all sports. And man, you're up there with me with the webcast and with the webcast. We see refs miss things every now and then, and you go, and we as commentators will be like, look at that over there, and you don't want to play because they're only human, and not they can't see everything that's happening. They might be looking at one thing and miss another that we see or not see. So there's a very big difference between making a bad call that just and being a dick and just wanting to punish someone because maybe 10 years ago when you were a player you sucked and they beat you down all the time. So here's payback time. So But like I said, that's hopefully mostly a thing of the past. We don't have any of those sort of referees at our Super Sevens events, that's for sure.
So where did from that event where you got cheated out of the win, where did SWAT go to from there? What was the next few years like for the
well,
team?
we started playing a lot of paintball, and look, even the name SWAT, man. Like, originally when we were putting the team together, right? This is another thing. We'd never. I mean, I'm not police or anything like that. I don't know. The reason why we got the name SWAT is kind of a bit lame, right? We actually had a name, Deadly Vendetta, was the original name of the team. That would all, and some of the guys had drawn, the old flying ball with the teeth on it. This is all the. But this tournament came up with like 2 weeks' notice. Like, oh, it's a tournament. Oh, yeah, we'll play. And there was there's no internet and stuff like that. And literally, I used to work my old job in the shoes, our head offices in Surrey Hills, and I was parking the car and I was walking past Surrey Hills. This leather shop had all like lady and men's leather clothing and stuff. Normal, like jackets, not bondage. I know exactly what you're thinking right now, right? Yeah, I was in this bondage shop. Anyway, really weird thing. I've walked past, and they had on the bench 11 patches that said SWAT team. Right, just the little red, and weren't even the gold ones. They were just red, and it just has SWAT at the top. Like the little shape, it's just a standard patch you'd buy in any disposal store. But they had 11 of them, and I've gone, oh, we need a team name. We'll just use that. Who cares? It's just an event, right? So the weekend before, and again, a couple of guys had to give the patches to them because they couldn't make it out the weekend before. The rest of us had got them, and I said, look, and most of us were wearing rental overalls. The overalls for our field. That's what we did. So we just sewed these patches on our overalls. The two Hughes brothers, they put those patches on their BDU tops. And we just thought, we'll just use it for the name for this round, and off we go. But because we won every game from start to finish quite convincingly, even though we come second, we decided to keep the name. We've got a win in our minds under our belt, and we've made a bit of a name for ourselves. And so that's how the name. So it wasn't like anything to do with the police or military or like that. It's just there was patches in a shop that I could use.
It could have been anything. It was whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
It was just whatever. Yeah. If it had said the Broncos or the Warriors, and then we probably would have still been called the Warriors. It was just a patch. So that's So from there, we just started. We went up and we played an Australian Championships up in Queensland at Top Gun Paintball. That was an interesting event, and we got second there. I think we did about our first 3 or 4 events. We got second, and then we started to win, and then a couple seconds. And the team was always, I got to say, we've been pretty lucky having a field behind us all the time, and me being pretty keen. They've had the ability to be able to play a lot, and I know back then. Because I had a full-time job, I was pretty much playing twice a week. My business partner, Tom, and myself, we'd take turns. So I'd play on Saturday morning, he'd play Saturday afternoon, I'd play Sunday afternoon, he'd play Sunday morning. So we're both literally playing with the groups for half a day every day. So that's what really helped my game. Other people are playing once a month or once every 6 weeks, and I'm picking up a paintball marker and shooting it twice a week. So that was really cool. And then, literally the team started playing a fair bit. And then there became a huge number of events to go play around New South Wales. There was always a tournament here or there. And Queensland had quite a few at their different fields. We'd always go up and play the South Packs every year at Paintball Australia with Tim McCarthy. And that was 10 men. That was limited to 16 teams. That was always sold out every year. And we were doing our couple little events as well. So, there was always, most years we were probably playing 8, maybe 9 events every year minimum. So a lot of tournaments. And the more we played, the more we sort of did well. And then I think the big thing for us is we went over to the States for the MPPL in 1994, San Diego. And that was a real steep learning curve because we were playing because it wasn't capped back then, so we're playing in the pro division. Dave Youngblood was the ultimate, the promoter of the event, and you had people like Bob Long, Refine, and stuff like guys, icon guys would running the fields and stuff. So that was pretty cool event. And then we came back from that event and just won everything we played, literally for like a year. just beat everybody. It
So you
was
guys
just
learn,
like, you know.
obviously learn everything from overseas.
Oh
and
yeah, you
brought it all
go.
back.
It was just such a different playing field over there, you know. And you're watching the other guys, you know, where we all used to run and hide behind big bunkers. These guys are running, you know, literally lie down behind a tuft of grass because the angle was right, and stuff you wouldn't think to live by. And so you learn, and we got to play a lot of paintball over there. We got to train for a couple of days beforehand with some of the with the Americans and stuff. Neil Martin, he was awesome. He hooked us up with all the gear when we were over there. It was so cool. Everybody just loves Neil Martin. I mean, back then, he was such a superstar as well. But we got brand new Air America systems before most of the American pro teams. We had all the latest smart mags from Smart Parts. We would go to the hotel, picking up all the guns from Adam Gardner. It was really cool. We were all hooked up with all the gear. We came back, and actually, the funny thing too is we went over there. We were a bit more prepared this time, so I made a decision. Instead of wearing a camo top, we got these long sleeve black shirts made. We just printed with Sydney Swat up the arms and little logos of our sponsors and stuff like that on the shirts, and SWAT in gold on the back. So everything was black long sleeve shirts. So when we turned up over there, and everyone's all wearing camos, and we were wearing Ozcam, Realtree. I think it was Realtree pants. Yeah, Realtree pants, and these black shirts, black long sleeve shirts. And then the weird thing was, we had some of the Americans come over to Australia playing in their Masters and stuff like that. And it was really cool. Two things. When I went back over the following year to World Cup in Orlando, two things. One, I gave the Americans, we had the All-American team in 95 come over and play the Masters. And, it was like Bill Gardner, Adam Gardner from All-Americans, Todd Adamson from Aftershock, Billy Saransky from Aftershock. There was just, Billy Saransky, who's now like one of the head boys of GI Sports. Danny Love, Danny Bonura, Heavy D. There was all these big pros. They made a 10-man team come over to Australia and won the Masters. And I gave them all these long sleeve shirts that said Australian Masters and stuff like that. So we're over at the World Cup, and I'm looking at all these guys. There was limited edition purple ones, there was black ones, and all these guys are wearing my shirts from my field. It was really cool. And the other thing I noticed was all of a sudden there was all these teams wearing black long sleeve shirts with all their logos and everything on it. I was like, wow, we started a trend.
Trendsetters, yeah.
Yeah, we're trendsetters, yeah. Shitty Aussie team, we're trendsetters, mate. It was pretty cool.
Was there many international teams playing that at the MPPL then, or were they mainly all just
American?
American?
Yeah. I remember, mate. It was it was at Kissimmee. Oh, how many teams at World Cup? Oh, it was like probably 150, 200 teams. It was massive. Teams from all over the world. So World Cup's been big for years. This is back when it was MPPL, then when PSP took over, and NXL. World Cup is always in Florida, the biggest paintball event of the year. I mean, the car park for the venue they had was just, hundreds and probably 1,000 cars. It was crazy.
So back then, it sounds like it really was a World Cup, not just a North American World Cup.
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much every World Cup I've ever been to has been a World Cup. Like, every World Cup, I've been to quite a few now, couple as a player, couple as mostly as a spectator of recent years. But, World Cup is World Cup. It's aptly named. Yeah, sure, there's lots of American teams, especially in the lower divisions, but, yeah, it's an international affair for sure.
So then you said that the All-Americans were coming over. Was that a trend as well? Did you get many American teams coming over?
We had the Americans come over as a full team, and they started coming back as ones and twos. And in the early days, I don't want to sound terrible, but in the early days, the Americans coming over, I think they sort of felt like they were a bit of superstars when they really weren't. You know what I mean? Like, you look now at guys like the Chad Georges and the Tim Montresses and Kyle Spicker, Marcelo Maga. Yeah, they're all absolute gentlemen. They are superstar ballers, but they're approachable. They'll talk to anybody, and they're just genuinely really nice guys and very good ambassadors for their sponsors and their teams. In the early days, some of the Americans, well, I would just say they weren't quite like that. They're a bit standoffish and sort of come across not as nice. But we certainly wanted the Americans to come over because I could see early on that they're just enough. They're a level up. And I mean, back in the early days, if we brought over an American, we'd pretty much win every game because we had the one American. You'd just win every single match you played. I mean, not only a single point, but they were just such a strong, dominating force. And over time, that became less so. Now, don't get me wrong, even now, I'd put, someone like Marcelo above any single Australian baller, or Spicker or Tim or Chad. They're all just friggin' superstars. But the impact that one player has now is not as big. And I probably think we saw that when, and I know Ringo was talking about when Menace they had like 4 guys one year come over, and they actually came 4th in the semi-finals to Raw.
Yeah.
And, so that was a few other things that maybe come into it. But, people like Hostile Intentions and stuff like that, and later on Envious, started to show that, Australian teams could win an event, even though other teams had 1 or even 2 Americans on their roster. But the reality is teams like Envious and Hostile Intentions and that are better teams because of the Americans coming over originally. Everybody in the pro division is a better player thanks to the American superstars, because they've come over and raised the bar over and over again. And I think Ringo mentioned too, this is the problem you have. If you don't play in the big pond, which is what Super Sevens is in Australia, then your game will not get better. And you can see that by if you went and take a Super Sevens team to any other event in Australia and they'll win. It's a level is so much higher than the people playing there in the pool. And I don't want people taking offence to it, but I mean that's why WA is so strong, because teams like SDK were continually travelling overseas, playing in Millennium, playing there. So they come back and that just lifts the level up continually as well. So if you don't have that input coming in, so that's why, Sydney's so strong. You got a fair bit with Queensland because the guys that are playing in Super Sevens, even in the semi-pro teams, they've all picked up because it trickles down. And WA Paintball is quite strong, even though they don't have as many teams. It's quite strong predominantly because of, and it's not just SDK. There's a few teams from WA that do travel to Asia as well. So that's bringing in new. And it just is. It's something which we picked up when us going overseas. Every time we come back from America or Millennium, we just come back and just win continually.
Well, I remember seeing that with us traveling to Malaysia, like in the early days of the Malaysian World Cup, we used to be able to go over and we were it felt like we were just in the top tier because it was so new in Malaysia. But as they started bringing over Americans and they just leveled up so quickly that, absolutely. That really leveled out that playing field.
Yeah, it's really good that the Asian leagues have embraced having Americans come over and play on their rosters as well, because it just will make their game better. I mean, Asian paintball's always fast too. Those guys, some of their players are just so amazing, so quick. But yeah, you look, what was it, 2009, 2010. Australian teams were going over and just dominating in the Asian leagues. The year we come second at KL to Hostile, it was like Australian teams were like first, second, fourth, fifth, and sixth, I think it was. And I put a lot of that down to the fact that everyone was playing in the sevens, playing against Americans continually. So when you come over and play a league that doesn't have any Americans, all of a sudden it's awesome. And back then, the World Cup, they weren't allowed to play.
Yeah, okay. At World Cup Asia, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were the.
So look, the only thing we've done is we put stop it from being an arms race. We did put a cap on it where if you have more than one, you lose ranking points. Which artificially, it's terrible, because we want them to come, but obviously we can't have it that someone with deeper pockets can go, like say at Expendables or SWAT can just go, oh yeah, we'll just bring in 4 guys from Heat or 4 Dynasty guys or 4 Impact players and just win the series, because then that would not be fair and that would take away from the event. So I'm trying to have my hand in both sides of making the sport get better more and more as quick as possible without actually making an arms race that teams that don't have as big a budget just can't compete. And when you look at that, football has a salary cap, and a lot of sports have the same sort of thing, because to try and keep it that it's an actual competition. And look, I really feel the last couple of years we've really achieved that. It used to frustrate me, even though SWAT's my team. You were a captain of SWAT. I was a captain of SWAT, and I'm an owner of SWAT. For so many years, SWAT's either come first or second. When they come second by 2 points. In the Super Sevens before that, it's always been SWAT and Hostile, SWAT and Menace, SWAT and Envious. It's always SWAT and somebody else. But the last couple of years, no. You couldn't put money on. I mean, look, even Eskimo Brothers, how awesome was that? Them winning round one was fan, and Eskimo Pros coming second. Tim Montressa, I love Timmy, and seeing Tim with the second, I thought, yeah, that's really cool. Even though it's at the expense of my SWAT boys, I couldn't be happier for that final. That was just, because I feel like SWAT, sorry to SWAT with people like Tim. Tim put so much into that team, and he played so awesome, and seeing him finally get. Because, with the Eskimos and Eskimo Nation, they've really been the whipping. They started off as the whipping boys in the pro division. They've worked hard to get where they are now. Credit to Jamie and Mr. Jones. But, now you can't tell. Who do you think is going to win? I mean, we don't have a round two at this stage, but if we were to have a round two right now, who would you think, whereas before you'd be like, oh, look, it's Envious, or it's going to be SWAT, or it's going to be, Hostile Intention, or it's just going to be SWAT. And now, no, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I hope it's going to be SWAT. I'm sure you do. Quite don't tell anybody. Of course you want to see him win everything, but the reality is, who knows, man? Like we're up the commentating booth going, wow, some of the plays that some people are doing, and it is like literally, out of the 10 teams, there's 6 teams that can all win the event on any given Sunday. And every finals is decided by bloody EDs, because every event for the last 2 years has been that close, where there's literally 5 to 6 teams vying for the last 2, third and fourth places. Usually first and second, they'll be in by about a full point or something, like someone's got a good lead. And and then even that, you look at Expendables last year. They lost 4 matches all year, and they got 3/3.
Yeah.
I mean, they go in undefeated for first in the prelims in first place, like by heaps, and then lose that semi-final match. I mean, I feel for Dave. That's just that's really hard for the boys. Because they're just such a great team, but it just shows you just how tight it is, and that's awesome for the spectators. That's awesome for all the teams. Everyone's got to go back and train harder and harder and harder, which means the next event's going to be even better.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than having an event where it's basically everyone playing for third place. When you go, these 2 teams are going to win. So it's really is a good. It's good. It's what you want in any kind of sport is having.
Absolutely. And look, last year was the first time in SWAT's history they haven't won an event all year. That's the first time.
Yeah,
So I know Ringo was the other day going, it was a while, we got a few seconds, we couldn't win. But yeah, we did win a couple of events. So they've won an event every year. First time last year, and that just shows you how hard it is. With all the input, all the talent on that team, nothing's a given. Nothing. It's, I mean, and I know the SWAT guys, mate, they train really hard. They're probably one of the hardest training teams in the league right now. And they have been consistently for the last 2 years. But it's just that close. Oh, yeah, but, not taking away, that just shows you, for teams like Eskimo Brothers and Eskimo Nation, just, how good what they've done is and how well they played on that day. It's credit to them. Crisis, I feel for Crisis, mate. They finished that last event in 5th place, and they lost 6 points in the prelims, 5 points in the prelims.
Yeah, they were steamrolling through, and then just couldn't put it together in the finals. It's well, I did have a chat with Hunter. It'll be episode 4. It hasn't come out at the time of this recording, but we did talk about that. Just that they've got a lot to work on, but something else that it's good to see in the league now with those and with the Eskimo Brothers is the teams that don't get to train together. It's just the talent. You can put all that talent together, and they're actually getting results now. Whereas it seemed like back in the day, you
but I mean,
get that. It's good.
Oh, well, I think that's a big thing too. With I was talking to Dave Black from SWAT about captain of SWAT about Eskimo Nation. I said, don't take it too hard. I mean, because the guy's been training, but look at the lineup that Eskimo Nation had. I mean, everybody on that team was a veteran. Everybody. I know it's a ring together team, but you're talking, Brendan Asker and Timmy, all these SDK boys. Like, that was a deep roster. So that's why they're so hard. I mean, every team has just got a really deep roster. The pro division's really bloody hard, and
well, I think
that's what makes it interesting. Yeah,
that's it enables the players to sort of come from anywhere around the country and do well. I think the sport's been around and the level has been around this high for that long that everyone's actually can just sort of walk on the field. You could put any other 4 decent players with them and they're gonna do well. So it's really good to see that the talent is spread out so far across the country as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, only I'd like to hopefully see one day in the future is, it was awesome having the boys come up from South Australia and, come away with a second place. And hopefully we get some more SA ballers coming up, which would be wonderful. And then hopefully maybe one day in the future we've seen the Victorians get back into it. And this is the thing, back in the day when I first started, and for many years, both Victoria and South Australia had strong pro teams. The Apparitions, the Rat Packs. South Australia had, of course, the Mighty Hardline, Screaming Phantoms. There was lots and lots of, really, strong pro teams. And it's just sad that, they don't have that anymore, well, it's going to take a long time.
I remember for a while, South Australia was just sort of doing their own thing. They had some strong teams, but they didn't really travel too much. But it seems like some of those states have actually hit it pretty hard, and there's not that much paintball in general going on. But it sounds like it's still starting to build back up again. I think that. Yeah,
well, I said, it's awesome that Havoc came got second. They played really well, and that was, that's to me, that's awesome. Like I said. Honestly, like if a Victorian team came up in semi-pro or whatever, and they did really well and came away with the bling, I'd be really stoked because the whole idea of Super Sevens is to be national and to put on a show for everybody, so people can see what Australian paintball's all about. But the longer teams stay out of the Super Sevens, the harder it's going to be for them to be competitive in it. And that's always the challenge. But we do have a couple guys from Victoria coming up occasionally to jump on pro teams like the Eskimo Brothers. And, Sean Patrick, he's a great little player. But, just it'd be nice to see a few more of them coming up, just be great to see, a strong Victorian paintball scene. We've got the population.
Oh, yeah. And there's seems like a decent, just a decent group of a pool of players as well. They should be able to put a team together. Hustle were coming out for quite a while, and you're watching them get like stronger and stronger with each event. So
it was really hard. Those guys were awesome. They had big hearts, and they got better every time. But the hard thing for them was so did everybody else. So they really struggled in the pro division. It probably would have been better for a team like that to play semi-pro and win a few events and, build up. And then there's the SC Cartel guys. They were doing really well. They were doing really well in semi-pro, and then they had one bad event, and they pretty much packed up and didn't come back, which is unfortunate. It'd be just be good to, have a bit more representation from down there. But, I mean, look, I can't really complain right now. Well, when we're running events, the top 3 divisions are booked out usually about a month to 5 weeks in advance because we're keeping them capped at this stage. So it's hard to be able to get them in.
Well, speaking about that and, the Super Sevens and stuff, is there anything that you sort of have planned for Super Sevens to go bigger or anything like that? If paintball ever we're allowed to play again?
Yeah. Well, I hope we are. I do. Look, I'm a big believer in the pro division being capped. And I'm also a big believer in, teams that, especially the teams that travel. For the guys that live in Sydney and that, whether we gave them 4 games or 5 games or 50 games would make no difference because they've got to get up in the morning, put on their shoes, drive to the field, unpack and play paintball, and they can play at the venue all the time. The big thing for me, being a person who travels as a baller a lot as well, is I don't want someone, coming from Victoria or South Australia or WA or New Zealand or around the world flying in so they can play 4 points or 4 matches. That, to me, is just really bad value for money. If that means that in the short term we can't run as many teams, but the quality's there rather than the quantity, then I'm going to go with that for the time being. But with the pro division, for me, it's always been about the story. And it's good that with the 10 teams, 9 matches, everybody plays everybody. There's no good draw. There's no bad draw. And for the fans that want to follow their team, they can follow the story of each match as it goes through for the whole weekend. And that, to me, seems to be working. The numbers that we've been getting on the webcast, I'm extremely happy with. And the comments from the fans that are following the teams is really, really cool as well. So at this stage, even if it got really a lot bigger, we can maybe do something where semi-pro we run 2 fields. Maybe we have talked about maybe moving the events to different weekends, so pro one weekend, semi-pro on another, amateur on another. But that does become a massive logistics nightmare for us. Yeah. And it's all about also trying to keep the costs down. Super 7 is not exactly what we call a huge profitable thing for us to do, but it is about for growing the sport and hopefully bring more bookings in the long run. We've got to be mindful that we're not making money from it now. We don't want to throw even more money at it. And if we go multiple fields and it's more referees, and then we've got to make sure we can maintain the quality with the referees that we've got if we expand. So I think in this stage, we don't need to be the be-all and end-all for everybody. We don't have to provide an event for everybody that wants to play. And we'll probably stay with the current formula that we've got at this stage. Real difference what we're doing is continually trying to improve the webcast, bringing in more of those super duper cameras that scan and that, and hopefully helping Adam out with a second or a third person to run the cameras. Because credit to Adam Connolly, what he's done with the webcast is just amazing for our budget. And the fact, you've seen that poor bugger. He's that's why he's so tired at the end of every day. I feel for me, he hates doing it, I know. But I really appreciate the fact that he does, because it's trying to work all that stuff on his own and be the director of the show and everything else is just amazing. And you're probably aware of it, but each Super Sevens event, no matter how we try to cut, always ends up being weeks of work leading up to it. You think, he's got the venue there. We just turn up in the morning and flick the switches on and we're ready to roll. But no, it's a lot of work behind the scenes every single event to make it that it seems like it's.
It's been like that since I was 16. The first Super Sevens event I ever worked, I remember doing. It was the first time I did back-to-back 13-hour days, and I thought this is awesome.
Yeah,
the amount of work
crazy.
That goes into getting one of those put together.
The whole team.
Changed.
The whole Action team. The whole Action team. Be it Nathan Dunn, Adam, obviously John. John hates running Super Sevens because it's like a 150-hour week for him. Dale. Everything's on the fly. Doing what we do, we probably should have twice as many staff. But we just got to do it as we're only a small business ourselves and just try and make it all work. And it does help too having we do get a bit of support from some of our sponsors. Like Planet Eclipse and Josh and HK Army and Tim Montressa and DLX and GOG, and obviously. Brian Bonini and Tim Summers from Push Paintball and Gladiator Air and all those guys, they all help in their own little way here and there, which just takes a little bit of the edge off the whole thing we got to do. But it'd be nice if Coke's listening. We'd like to have Coke come on board and just give us a couple $100,000 so we can just actually do it easier. But in the short term, no, it's just it's a work of love, I suppose.
Yeah, but
we do take pride in it. It is a real sense of accomplishment at the end of each event. Going, it's done. We've put on a good show. Refs have done a great job, and I got to, obviously Yowie and all the Action Pro refs, man. I'm so happy with those guys. They all really take pride in what they're doing, and it shows. They really do try to ref to the best of their ability to, they take pride in being good refs.
Yeah, they do a great job. All those guys are, all the refs on all the fields are, you just don't hear many complaints whatsoever about anything they do. So.
Thank God.
Yeah,
I don't miss those days. Yeah, but it's good. I suppose I'm up the top there now. I can't be blamed.
Yeah, no.
That's why I think I try to hide in the booth a bit.
I think
it's better to go up there and be hacked. Yeah, it's better to go up there and be hacked on hard by you and Adam and anybody else who wants to take the piss out of me than go down and face the music on the sideline if someone makes a bad call. So yeah, I might try to go up there. Plus, to get more food up there too, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, the webcast has been a great thing. It's really, it's that chicken and egg sort of thing. It had to sort of happen, but it happening has really grown the sport even more. It's something that all these people are able to go to their friends. Like I've taken it when sitting in the lunchroom at work and saying, this is what I used to do all the time on the weekends. Like, this is what my friends are doing.
Okay,
right now.
I got to ask you a question. Don't you spew that we weren't doing it when you and I were playing? God, I wish I could.
Definitely.
Man, I wish I had all my games recorded back in the day. God damn. It's just, it's so, Paintball's so much better now than it's ever been, I mean, really, not just because of the webcast, the gear's better, everything's better.
Well, I was looking at some old photos of you, and I thought, someone would have had to take that photo, go down to the print shop, get the photo printed, and then bring it in like it just. But these days, it's all there, and it's there forever.
Well, that's the thing, I mean, when we were playing the NPPL, right? So I remember there's a couple of photos of me which I put up quite regularly, with the black shirt, the old auto mag, when we were playing against Bad Company. And there was a professional photographer there, and they take the photos, and then the next day you turn up, and they've got a big table there, and they're all blown up in a cardboard frame with, San Diego NPPL 94, right? And I remember they were like $25 a photo, and you'd be running trying to see if there's, because not everyone gets their photo taken, and so it's like you'd be looking around trying to see it, and if you could, you'd pay. I would have paid $50 or $100 for the photo, it'd be cool. Here's a picture of me playing in the Pro Division, NPPL in 94, and now they get all their games filmed for free, and it's part of the deal if you're playing in the Pro Division. Like, I can go backwards and forwards. It's up there, you go on the Super 7s at any time, and you can, with every event we've done since we've been doing the live stream, they're all there for all time. You can pick any date, any event, and watch the games over and over again. That would be awesome. I'm jealous. I'd pay $25 for a photo. God damn it.
Yeah,
and that was rare.
For like a coaching thing, in between days of the events, it'd be good just to have had that back in the day to say, we've got this team up tomorrow. We can go back and watch every single one of their points and work out what they're doing.
And the players do, Scotty? They do. I mean, they go back and they watch the games. They watch the games, their games, see what they did wrong, and then they watch the teams they got to play the next day. That's a great tool. Again, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, so, people don't know how lucky they've got it these days.
Yeah, just and the cost, mate. I mean, Ringo was saying, I was listening to his one, it's like, give an example, people forget, we used to pay $250 for a box of paint. And, okay, I know back in the days of 10-man, we would shoot 30 boxes. There's 10 guys wearing the bill, but it was not, you'd have a $600-700 paint bill per player. That was just common. It was but that's and because our guns were so crap, you'd just be shooting, hoping something hits someone on the other side of the field. The fields are really uneven and huge and bugger all bunkers. Some of the fields you go to, there's like no preparation done for the venue. Terrible. You're like, this field's crap. Yeah, we're going to play. Hope we don't lose the toss. Oh, we lost the toss. Okay, well, it's going to be. We did a tournament down in South Australia, and they had this field. Literally, one side had like 4 drums on it, and the other side had drums and forts and netting, like shake-off bunkers, with hole cutting. Yeah. And we lost the toss, and it was like, oh my God. I was only 5-man, but there was literally 4 bunkers on the field for us at our side of the field. And this guy's just standing behind netting, just shooting through the hole, looking at us. So,
if only they had a race 2 format then.
oh yeah, swap ends now, bitches. You'll go. Actually, that event was so bad. I remember we travelled all the way to this event, and there was ended up being only 5 teams, and it was like 2 weeks before a Masters, and that weekend we had 6 teams training. And my guys really gave me heaps going, why did we travel 1,700 Ks to play 4 other teams, of which one of them was from our field? And we struggled. We really struggled. We nearly didn't make the finals. Legit. There was 5 teams. We were going to come last, and we just scraped in, and then we won the event. But, it was just, we just kept losing the toss on this field with the 4 bunkers on it. So I kept hitting that one side of the field. It was terrible.
Well, we're pretty much running out of time, but before we go, I just, you know everyone in the sport, so I just thought you'd be the best person to ask this question. Who do you think would be someone that would be a good fit for the show, someone that you think everyone might like to hear their story?
Well, you've got Jamie. I know Ringo said Jamie, Angus, and Jonesy would be pretty cool. Yeah. I really think Adam Connolly. Seriously, a lot of people don't realise Adam's actually won a World Cup, like pro division, X-Ball, the super unlimited, uncapped rate of fire, pro division. And Adam won. I mean, I remember he threw the trophy out at the field. I couldn't believe this huge X-Ball trophy. But, Adam, when he came over to Australia, he won, 10, 11 events in a row. Didn't matter who he played with, he just won. I think he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game, to be honest. He's played a lot of paintball everywhere and done a lot. I think he'd be really, really interesting to hear from if you can get him to open up.
I'll try my best.
That or maybe, Dave Hopkins, I reckon would be pretty cool. What Dave's done in such a short period of time with the Expendables is nothing short of amazing as well.
Yeah, no, it's always trying to reach out to the Kiwis and get some of them on. But yeah, Dave and the Expendables, it's been a great story. I was
absolutely. So plus, he's an awesome guy, so that doesn't hurt as well.
Yeah, no, we've had some good.
He's always great to talk to. Yeah.
No,
my best. That'd be my 2 suggestions.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Well, thanks for giving up your time, Mike, and sitting down with us. And let's hope that Can I
just say one thing too, mate? Everybody in the paintball industry, just everybody be safe, I suppose. We're going through a very difficult time. So is everybody inside and outside the paintball industry. And hopefully we can get on top of this terrible situation sometime in the very near future. We can get all back together and start trying to kill each other on the field. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely
be safe.
Yeah, I'll be back on the field once it's all open. Trying to support everything. Yeah.
So just everyone be safe.
Yeah, you too, and I hope
you take care, mate.
Hope you guys are doing well, and that if there's anything that the field needs or anything, you can always shout out, and I'm sure there'll be thousands of people willing to help.
We have, I've got to say, it's been very humbling. I've had so many people messaging me going, if you need anything, does Action need anything? It's really wonderful. Like I said, I just keep saying to everybody, look, just be safe, and I just hope to see you again when we do reopen, like everybody else.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important thing right now. Lives come first, so.
Yeah, that's it. We'll get to, I'm sure we'll be out there on the field before we know it. It'll
hope so.
It'll just be a distant memory.
Yeah. 2020, forget it. Bring back 2019.
Yeah. All right,
buddy. All the best.
Thanks for dropping in. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, mate. So.
Once again, I'd just like to say a huge thanks to everyone for checking out this show. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, don't forget to drop us a like and share the podcast around. You can catch the podcast on Anchor or any other podcast app that you use. If you can't find it on the one you normally listen to, just let me know and I'll try and add it there. We're also on YouTube. I post up the video about a day after the podcast launches, and then 2 days after we're up on Facebook as well for all the people that like to get their audio through Facebook. Well, Thanks once again to Mike, and thanks everyone for listening. This is Down Under Paintball. I'm Scott. We'll see you next time.